Have you ever felt a fear so strong it felt like invisible chains holding you back? A fear that whispered you can't every time you tried to step forward. Today, I want to share a story about a young boy who was bound by such chains and how he learned to break them. His name was Arav, and he had a deep love for the sea. He adored the salty air, the cry of the gulls, the endless blue horizon. But there was a catch. Arav was terrified of the water. Just the sight of the waves crashing onto the shore would send his heart into a frantic rhythm. His palms would grow sweaty, and he'd instinctively retreat, as if the water itself was a monster reaching for him. His dream of sailing, of exploring the vast ocean, seemed forever out of reach, locked away by his own fear. One sunny afternoon, his grandfather, an old sailor with eyes as deep as the ocean he once navigated, sat with Arav on the beach. He watched his grandson flinch as a wave rolled in. Without a word, he pulled a small, coiled piece of rope from his pocket and placed it in Arav's hand. The rope was weathered and strong. "You see this, my boy?" his grandfather said, his voice raspy like sand. "People think ropes are what bind you, but these are not chains. Fear is. Fear is the only chain that truly holds a person captive." Arav clutched the rope, confused by his grandfather's words. How could something as intangible as fear be a chain? He looked at the rope in his hand, then at the vast, intimidating sea. The old man's words echoed in his mind all evening, turning over and over. That night, sleep didn't come easily. He lay awake, listening to the distant roar of the ocean, the very sound that fueled his anxiety. But this time, something felt different. His grandfather's words had planted a seed of defiance in his heart. Was he going to let this invisible force dictate his entire life? The next morning, with the sun just beginning to paint the sky in hues of orange and pink, Arav made a decision. He walked to the shoreline, the same small rope from his grandfather still in his hand. He stood where the dry sand met the wet, his heart pounding a familiar, frantic beat. The waves lapped closer, teasing his toes. He took a deep breath, the salty air filling his lungs, and he took one small, hesitant step into the shallow water. The shock of the cold water was immediate. It was strong, alive, and for a moment, panic surged. He wanted to run, to scramble back to the safety of the dry sand. But he didn't. He thought of the rope, of his grandfather's words. Fear is the chain. He squeezed the rope in his fist, grounding himself. He took another step. The water swirled around his ankles. The fear was still there, a loud drum in his ears, but for the first time, he wasn't running from it. He was standing in it. He was moving forward. That first day, he only went in up to his knees. It was a monumental victory. The next day, he waded in a little deeper. He learned to feel the rhythm of the waves, to anticipate their push and pull instead of fighting it. His fear didn't vanish overnight. It was a constant companion, a whisper of doubt in his ear. But with each step, its voice grew a little quieter, and his own voice grew a little louder. Days bled into weeks. The boy who was once afraid to get his feet wet was now learning to float, his body supported by the very water he had dreaded. His grandfather would watch from the shore, a quiet, proud smile on his face. Soon, floating wasn't enough. Arav learned to swim. He discovered the freedom of moving through the water, the feeling of weightlessness, of becoming one with the element he had feared. The ocean was no longer a monster. It was a powerful, beautiful force that he was learning to respect and work with. The fear was still present, especially when the waves were rough, but it no longer controlled him. He had learned that courage wasn't about being fearless, it was about doing it anyway. The following summer, his grandfather taught him how to sail. He learned to read the winds, to hoist the sails, to steer the small boat through the waves. The first time he took the helm by himself, with the wind filling the sails and the boat cutting through the water, was a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. He looked back at the shore, at the small figure of his grandfather, and he finally understood. The chains were broken. He was free. Years passed. The young boy grew into a man. The small boat was replaced by larger vessels, and Arav, the boy who was once terrified of the water, became a captain, confidently navigating his ship across the world's oceans. He had seen storms that would make mountains tremble, and he had faced waves that looked like liquid cliffs. And yes, sometimes, in the heart of a tempest, he would feel a flicker of that old, familiar fear. But it no longer had power over him. It was just a reminder of the journey, of the boy who stood on the shore, clutching a small piece of rope, and decided to take that first terrifying step. The moral of Arav's story is something we can all carry with us. Courage isn't the absence of fear. True courage is acknowledging your fear, feeling it in every fiber of your being, and still finding the strength to move forward one step at a time. Your fears, whatever they may be, are not your destiny. They are challenges, invitations to grow stronger, to become the person you are meant to be. Like Arav, you just have to take that first step. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this moment with me. If this story resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. What is a fear you're working to overcome? Share your story in the comments below. Let's support each other. Until next time, be brave.